The Against All Odds podcast, sponsored by Oak Forest Recovery. All right, welcome to the Against All Odds podcast. My name is RJ, and I'm here with co-host Rachel. And today we have a special guest, Nick.
Yay.
Nick Howley.
What's going on?
What's going on, man? I'm glad you're coming on.
Thank you for having me.
He didn't know what he was getting himself into.
Yeah, which is great. I think it's good because it's like what we want is just conversational.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like we want to get to a point where you're just super comfortable talking, and then we're going to ask you questions about your purpose and like why you do the things that you do and what drives you. And
well, let's get it going.
But yeah, let's start.
And where you come from and stuff. Yeah.
So
let's go back to childhood.
What kind of questions you got?
Yeah. Well, you tell us. Where did it start? You said you were born down in.
Yeah, I was born in. I was born in Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles Hospital, and then we quickly moved to Dana Point, and I lived in Dana Point till I was 9 years old. Then we moved up to the Bay Area. Lived in the Bay Area till I was 13. Yeah, between 7th and 8th grade, moved back to Southern California, and we moved to Laguna. Those would be probably two of my favorite years of childhood.
In Laguna?
Really? Yeah, living in a gated community with a golf cart.
Nice.
And turned me into a spoiled little brat for sure. Yeah.
Were you surfing back then?
Yeah. I mean, my dad grew up surfing, right? So we were always, wherever we lived, we were at the ocean on the weekends, you know. That was his activity. My brother didn't really fall in love with surfing the way I did, but I was like my dad, super committed to, had to be in the ocean, super obsessed with that. You know, when we moved back to Laguna, I got really into surfing and was doing surf team and super focused on that and started ditching classes to surf and, you know, kind of getting into all the usual trouble because I'd rather surf.
So surfing was your gateway drug.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then we were only in Laguna for a couple of years. We moved back. My dad's job changed. And so he got a job offer that pulled us back up north. And so we moved back up to the Bay Area. That was kind of the beginning of things going a different direction for me, probably. You know?
Was it hard moving around like that?
Yeah, it was hard at that time. I had this identity, right? I'm a surfer. I want to compete in surfing. That's what I'm focused on doing. And then my dad moved me to the Bay Area, for financial reasons. And, it was really, I had no say in that. And I'm a kid and all I know is what I'm losing, you know, all I know is I'm losing all my friends, my identity and all these things that, you know, that were everything for me. So
how old were you?
I was, 15 when we moved. Yeah, I finished freshman year of high school.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was actually, you know, my dad always figured I started smoking pot when I was in Laguna because I was ditching classes and stuff, but I really was just surfing. I stashed a board at a friend's house and a wetsuit and I would ditch class and go surf anytime the surf was good. So my dad figured I started smoking pot then because grades started declining and my commitment to responsibility started going out the window. So, but the truth was that the first time I smoked weed was in Northern California. It was we moved and I remember being at a orientation for high school and it was a little bit before the fall semester started and there was a kid, Alex, there who was you know, I was vibing with and he was do you smoke weed? And I was yeah. Never smoked weed in my life, but I smoke weed, you know, and just lying to fit in and that just kind of set things off. Yeah. So
do you remember what that first experience was like?
Man, I remember, I remember riding around in a Ford Explorer with a couple guys who were older than us. Lacrosse was really big at that high school. I went to it's a private Jesuit high school that was really well known for lacrosse and known for its academics. And, I remember riding around with a couple guys, older guys who were on the lacrosse team and just passing around a pipe, and getting super stoned. You know? Did you
get high the first time you smoked?
Actually, when I think about it, the first time I smoked weed actually wasn't that time like that. The first time I smoked weed was I met back up with a childhood friend from when we lived there when I was younger, and I smoked out of a kazoo with this kid. Andrew, who was my best friend in elementary school. And so when we moved back up, I hit him up. And it's funny you ask all that. Yeah, because it brings it back. But
for sure.
we like smoked out of a kazoo. He'd like made a pipe out of a kazoo, and I don't remember getting stoned. I don't know if I didn't inhale.
I didn't either.
Or
The
what
first
it
couple
was.
times I smoked, I think it takes time to like build up in your. I'm just curious because like a lot of people, I feel like when
I don't
they first
think I got
smoke-
stoned that first time. Yeah. But so then, following that was with Alex and his friends, like at St. Ignatius. And I always got stoned at school. Like as I started smoking pot, it was something I did at school. My dad was really on top of that kind of thing, and really had firm boundaries, and was not someone I wanted
to be
upset at
around.
me. So I like was always navigating dad at home.
You're like, school's safer to be high.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was like my freedom. And we lived in the North Bay in Marin County, and I would bus to school every day, and so I had like time and space away from home, and so that was like my area to like run amok and do what I wanted. And I mean, that was just how I fit in. That was how I found my way to fit in, right?
Yeah,
like I just became that person, and it just kind of snowballed.
Right.
Surfing less. That was an interesting too. You know, I felt like I felt really different from everybody there because I went to this school where I came from a school that had a surf team and like competed in surfing, and that was who I was, and everybody called me Howley. It's like Howley is a Hawaiian term for white boy from the mainland. And then I go up to this school that's like a preppy lacrosse school, and there's maybe like 3 guys in the whole high school who surf. And like the only guy who really surfs was like a senior, and I would go surfing with him when I could, but it was tough to like go surfing from where we lived.
Yeah.
Like for me to bring a surfboard and wetsuit to school and stuff was just not really possible.
Right.
So it was tough to make happen. I would do it on the weekends. I don't know, that like, I think that transition was just really hard on me as a kid.
Yeah,
you know, I just didn't really know what to do with it.
Yeah, that's like a pivotal age, I feel like. And if you're taken out of the element like that you were really happy in and you felt connection and stuff, that's hard.
And then we went from, Laguna Beach High School is a public school, a pretty easy workload. And freshman year is not really that rigorous of a year to like sophomore year at a really gnarly private school. And it was like the workload increased like tenfold. And it was, I remember just feeling like I was just sinking, just like, and like midterms and report cards come in, you're just like, fuck, dad's gonna flip shit. Like,
why did they put you in private school because they wanted you to do better in school?
Yeah,
like,
I think my
was
dad, the only reason I was in public school was I was in public school for 1 year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, did private school our whole lives.
Oh, okay.
And that 1 year, I can't remember what it was, but it was like the options in that area. I think my dad already knew like changes were going to happen with his career. And so I think he kind of was, I don't remember exactly.
It was like a stopgap.
Yeah,
like,
I was kind of like, save some money, send him to public school for a year. I don't know. I want to say he gave me the option, and I chose that. I don't really know why. But, but yeah, then he did give me options of like schools to go to when we were transferring, and I chose St. Ignatius, which is a good high school, and I'm glad I went there because actually fucking off and like dropping the ball there was like a better education than like had you sent me to public school and I'd done the same things. I would not have graduated high school.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because things started going like a real slippery slope quick. And at a private school, they got like counselors and they got all this accountability set up. Like they do not let you fail. Like no matter how much you push back
like,
on
what
that.
do we have to do?
Hard to get kicked out of a place like that. Yeah.
Right.
So, God, yeah. I think I have like so many crazy stories from just being a kid there of like, we had priests who lived on campus. We found their walk-in fridge and they had like cases of Heineken and wine in there. And so I started drinking. It's a 4-story building in San Francisco, and it just had a staircase that went up to like an emergency exit door. That's the roof. And we one day figured out that alarm doesn't go off. And so you could just go up to the roof. And so we would just pack backpacks full of beer and like go up there and drink and be drinking at lunch and smoking weed, hanging out on the roof. And like, I don't know.
So that became your new escape.
Yeah, one of them. I mean, dude, I just tried everything. I did everything at high school. Like I tried mushrooms for the first time. I tried acid for the first time. I did coke for the first time. I know when I tried cocaine, that was like I don't know, that hooked me in for
Yeah,
sure. And I
you were
got
like,
some
"This is
like
my
really
jam."
good blow. And I remember some of my friends being worried about me. They were like, you should give that back. I was like, no. Yeah. So, I don't know. Yeah. High school just like quickly imploded on me. You know, it was just like kind of barely getting through each semester, barely getting through each year. And, I had a terrible GPA. I didn't get into any colleges I applied to, even from that school, like applying to state schools and just getting rejected. Yeah. Like I had fucked off pretty hard. So,
And were you getting in trouble with your parents?
oh man, so much trouble at home. Home was the one thing I skipped over about my childhood is my mom passed away when I was 10 years old from breast cancer. And so that move, when we moved up to Northern California, you know, it'd been some years. But, you know, there was a lot more going on of like unresolved grief on my end. Like, I mean, I was 10 years old. I didn't know how to deal with that. And my dad did all the right things, like trying to take us to therapy and all the things that you should do with that kind of loss. But I mean, God, I don't know how you get a kid to properly process that at that age. So my dad remarried at, I think I was 16 or 17. But my stepmom, who he's still with, moved in when I was 16. And so she moved in pretty quick. Like they got together, she moved in. I wasn't used to like a motherly figure in the house. I was used to like my dad would hire au pairs and nannies to like handle logistics with us. My dad worked a lot. My dad was in commercial real estate. He traveled a lot for his job. Like he worked for a big company, and he had a position with a lot of responsibility, and he would travel and he'd be gone like sometimes 4 or 5 days a week. So then there'd be like a nanny or au pair taking care of us. And then Diane moved in, and like for me as a 16-year-old kid, like Diane was the enemy.
Yeah.
And it's so messed
like,
up because it's not how I feel about her anymore at all.
Yeah.
But like,
but at that time,
that's a typical
God.
teenager. I feel like that's a age where you're like.
And she was sharp. She was like really on top of it. She'd be telling my dad, like, your kid's smoking pot. And like, and he'd be like, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal. Like he's a teenager. Yeah. And like, she was like, no, these are like,
this is bad.
Red
bigger
flag.
issues than you think. And so, there was a lot of turmoil at home, and it really ramped up like my junior year, like when I was like 17, because my antics ramped up. I would sneak out of the house in the middle of the night. I would roll their cars out of the driveway in neutral and like go parading around town. Like, and, you know, I had a night where I met up with a girl. We went touring the city in the car. I let her drive. She ran a red light and T-boned another car.
Oh no.
And that car was a car full of guys who had just like been a part of some burglary, and they rifled through our car and like pressured us for money, and then they split. And I didn't really know what happened. Then the cops showed up. Then the cops showed up and like questioned us. I think they contacted my dad. My dad got a knock on the door at like 3 a.m. like,
shit.
do you know where your kid is? Yeah, he's downstairs asleep. No, he's not. And my dad came and picked me up. The car was drivable. He followed me and I drove back. I remember I got back and he was so mad. I mean, my dad, you know, I feared my dad as a kid. Like I was just
terrified.
Stay clear of dad. And he wouldn't let me go to sleep. He was like, you're staying up all day. You're like doing chores and like, hope you had fun. Like,
oh my God, dude.
And then that day, our au pair, Peter, because even when Diane moved in, we kept the support in place. And some of these guys too, like, you know, they come from another country and they become family and they have life there. We're not just like kick them out. But so Peter had been keeping the cash my dad was paying him in an envelope in the glove compartment of that vehicle.
Oh God.
And it was gone.
Oh no.
So it's just like,
poor Peter.
I remember getting chewed out by him.
Your dad was just like
did your dad think that you took it?
Everybody, you know, it was always like I was just the problem child.
Yeah.
Like I could not do
that.
that.
The innocent dude just gets fucking whacked too.
Right. Did your dad think that you took the money, or did you explain like the whole
thing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like they got it.
No,
I'm sure.
I don't remember him or anybody ever thinking I took the money. Yeah. I remember Peter being fucking pissed.
Yeah.
Because that was his daily driver. Like he would drive that car.
Yes. Yeah. That was like dad's second car. This little Ford Explorer and just Oh my God. So bad. bad, man.
Did they ever send you anywhere, like, or
as a kid? No,
yeah.
I remember my dad. Oh man, he and I got into it a lot. I mean, they would try to drug test me. They would search me. I would just like level up. I would just like start stashing stuff out in the neighborhood, and like, like, oh, I'll go walk the dogs, and like, you know, I'd come back just smelling like weed, and I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, just infuriating for them.
Wait, did they ever catch the guys that you T-boned?
So the cops did pull them over, like in the East Bay that night. They said that was how we got that information.
Oh shit!
Okay. Yeah, but we didn't know. I didn't know Cash was missing at the time. Oh, so we never followed back up through the system. I don't think. Yeah, but like the details about there being money there came like a day later through Peter.
Wow.
And in the moment when like I was standing there waiting for my dad, and the cops that were with me had pulled them over, pulled that same vehicle over in the East Bay. And so they said they had found the guys, and that they were coming from like some burglary at a place in SF. And I don't know. It was like a whole thing.
What are the chances, man? It's crazy.
It's pretty crazy. It's
crazy.
Yeah. So no, there was, I was like getting searched and drug tested, and, you know, any boundaries they put up on me, I just would not, you know, I would like comply face to face with you and then just go back to doing what I was doing. Like, it didn't stop me at all. And so it's pretty infuriating for them. I can remember one of the like times my dad was really upset and came back. It was always like he'd come back from a business trip, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm sure like my stepmom is like, you know, reading him the list of like what she's been dealing with, just fucking done with it. And yeah, he came back and he was like, I just remember him telling me, like, I will fucking disown you. You keep this up. Yeah, and I don't remember what the details were of how I had earned that, but I'm sure I had earned it, you know? And, I pushed him to the edge for sure. Yeah. You know? And then, but I do remember like my senior year, like so many things, like just like all those kinds of events, like all the time. I mean, there was a time I snuck out and I like ran away, and they had to like track me down and find me, and they like showed up at the door like to pick me up.
Where'd you go to, like a friend's house?
Friend's house, yeah. Just hold up.
Yeah.
It was hanging with some girls, and like I remember he picked me up and I had hickeys all over my neck and stuff, and it was just like he was like just so pissed that I was off like having a good time, you know? Yeah. It was just I don't know. I just wanted to escape, you know? Yeah. I don't know. That was all I had. That had like, I think it's that feeling of trying to fit in, like just snowballed, and I did not know how to handle my responsibilities anymore to do that. I just was like gonna escape reality, like no matter what, and that was my program, and that was my agenda, and I didn't know any other way. So no, he never sent me anywhere or kicked me out, but you know, I think I don't remember exactly what changed, but I know in my senior year, gosh, I wish I could remember what changed, but I feel like there must have been some boundary placed that I finally kind of like kind of conceded. And I know my like somewhere in my senior year, like in the very back half, I tried to get my shit together because I was like failing all my classes. And so maybe it was that kind of thing. But then like 3 days before walking graduation ceremony, I went drinking with my buddies. It was like, all right, you know, school's done. Let's go drink. Yeah, and we're like drinking 40s in Golden Gate Park. And then, but we had left our bags on campus, and we had to go back to get our backpacks. And when we went back on campus, the assistant dean,
oh no,
she, which is so funny too. I've reached out to this person to try to make amends, and she just does not answer. I'm pretty sure I got to show up like physically at the high school. But she walked around the corner and was like, you guys reek of booze, come with me. And breathalyzed us. And I did not get to walk at graduation. So I didn't get to walk at graduation ceremony, and I didn't get my diploma. I had to do, I think it was like 90 meetings in 90 days they wanted. They wanted me to get analyzed by the school drug counselor. I had to submit to blood tests. Like they basically wanted to like assess
to
whether or
get
not
your diploma.
Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't get my
shit.
diploma until like October. Or
Oh,
something.
wow.
Yeah, and my family, like family from all over the place, was coming out, and it was too late to cancel, so they all came out and did like a party of shame.
No,
Like
dude.
everybody still came, and it was just like,
Yeah, we're all gonna be here for you.
great job, Nick.
Humiliation ritual. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was pretty ridiculous. So, but that was my first experience with like meetings. Of course, dude, I just had so much anger. When I look back on it, like knowing what I know now, I just had so much unresolved grief that turned to anger, and I was just like, fuck everybody, you know.
Right.
And I took it out on everybody and even myself, and you know, even though I didn't see it that way. But yeah, I guess the reason I say that is like I had to do 90 meetings in 90 days, and rather than go to AA, I was like, no, I'm a drug addict. I'm gonna go to NA. And I remember my dad was like, great, like it was like anything I could do. And I don't know that I really like was thinking that clearly, like trying to hurt my dad. But I look back on it, I'm like, God, it's like cringy. Like God, I was so like just jabbing him everywhere. Cause fuck, he had done the best he could and tried to, you know, tried to give me every opportunity to succeed. And I just, you know, flipped the bird at everything. So yeah. I did those 90 meetings in 90 days. I was living at my parents' house during that time through the summer. I got healthy, you know, but man, what was it? Yeah. I was signed up for community college classes. And my dad's deal was like, if you're not in school, you can't live here. And I was working, and I had a couple classes at the community college, and I knew my grades were dropping. So I just started looking for places to move out. I was like, all right, another deal. I'm not even going to have that conversation. Right. And I moved out. I remember the first night I moved out, I hit up my buddy, Mike from high school, who I hadn't been able to hang out with at all. And he showed up, and we smoked weed and drank beers, and you know,
You're like, freedom.
Yeah, freedom.
Now I can finally do what I want.
Yeah. But I didn't touch anything else for a long time. I don't know. I stayed pretty like manageable for years, for like, you know, 18 to 23. And I mean, I learned to work and provide for myself because I just didn't want my dad to tell me what to do. Right. I was like, all right, I'm not going to take a single dollar from you. And I had like a lot of support growing up. Like I could reach out and get whatever I needed on certain terms. Right. Like, you know, my dad would have for sure supported me if it was doing the right things and doing something he believed in. And I just didn't want any part of it. I didn't want him to be able to tell me what to do. So I did things my way. And I mean, I had like a bunch of hard times in there, but I figured things out, you know. And I think it's something I'm grateful for, is like my dad is super boundaried. And like, I mean, that's a crucial part of my path, is like I did have to figure things out on my own to do things my way. My dad didn't come in and try to save me. He was like, right, good luck. Yeah. Like, but yeah, I did all sorts of things. I bounced around the Bay Area. I got into the outdoor adventure industry. I was like a river guide for a while.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. Yeah.
River guide.
But like, man, all through this, you know, there's so many stories of just like unmanageability. And like, I recognized I was an alcoholic like a long time ago.
Okay.
You know? Even though it's like more manageable use here and there, like, I mean, God, I got kicked out of, I was a river guide for my uncle in Kernville on the Kern River. And just like a pretty serious river. And if you're working there, it's pretty serious operations. And I was like, kind of like the way I was, flying by the seat of my pants and just doing what I wanted to do. And I would take advantage of the fact that it was my uncle's company. And I would like go to the campground host and be like, hey, can I get the key to the warehouse? You know,
I gotta grab something.
Yeah. And I'd like grab a boat and like all the gear to go like run around with my buddies, you know, basically steal his equipment.
Yeah.
And I remember too, I'd been, like not making much money, spending it all at the bar and drinking. And I talked a little shit too about my uncle's company. Like I thought I knew better. Oh yeah. And, oh man. And he found out, obviously small town. And, he didn't appreciate that or respect that. And I don't think he didn't buying me a bus ticket out of town for that. He bought me a bus ticket out of town because I was doing stuff that he felt was really unsafe, and it was. And so he was, he's my mom's brother, and actually when my mom passed away, she asked him to look after us, and so he's always like kind of bared that load. Yeah. Right. And so I know he bought me a bus ticket out for multiple reasons, but God, where was I going with that? I was doing whatever I wanted in that town and running around and taking advantage of my situation. But so he bought me a bus ticket out, and I went back up to San Francisco. I helped a buddy manage some apartment buildings, and then I got a job offer with a buddy to go manage an operation in Colorado. And so we went and did that. And I did that for 2 summers in a row. Actually, so that first summer I did that. After I came back to apologize to my uncle. Like I had some experience now managing something. I went like, like this is hard. Yeah. There's like a lot of pieces to this. And cause like we didn't do well. Yeah. Like we were barely profitable, and it was like only because we had like no expenses. But so I came back and made an apology to my uncle, and he actually like, he didn't give a shit. Yeah. And I think I've always had family that was really direct and didn't sugarcoat things. And telling this story now, I'm like really grateful for that because that's helped me be who I am. My uncle, I remember he put me in my place and he challenged me. He was like, you've never worked 40 hours a week. You don't know what it takes to run a company. And he like put me in my place, and that pissed me off. And I went the next winter and like I got 3 jobs, and I was like living in Mammoth Lakes, and I was like, first I was window cleaning in the summer and I was working as much as I could. And then what did I do? I bussed tables. I worked front desk of like an athletic club. And then I worked on the mountain and for race department as well. And I think I had like some like 70, 80 hour work weeks for most of that winter. And that was like me, I guess basically, I think at that age, it wasn't me like doing anything other than like, I'll fucking show you. Yeah. And I'm super competitive. If I feel like I'm taking a loss, I don't like it. So, that really motivated me to work hard. And, so I went back to Colorado after that winter to manage that operation with my buddy again. We expanded, did a little more, did better, but I had gotten into my mind that I wanted to make money. And I was like, okay, I'm working hard. I don't know, something changed where I was like judging myself based off like what I was accomplishing in that fashion. And I had friends from when I was in high school, and after high school I would sell some weed, and I would go up to Humboldt and pick up like little amounts, like a half pound and this kind of stuff. And that was like something I would do to supplement income. And I was always smoking weed, so it was like, okay, I'm getting paid to smoke weed now. Right. I remember saying that. So I hit up those friends. Those friends were working for some guys up off the grid in an area called Island Mountain. And it's like in the middle of the Emerald Triangle. It's actually where all 3 counties meet this one community. And so Humboldt, Trinity, and Mendocino County all meet in that area. And I called my buddy, and he was working up there, and he was getting a crop share to grow for some guy, and he was making like 150 grand for a summer. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, can I come, come up there and try to get some work? And he was like, yeah, come, you can trim. And I didn't know anything about what he's talking about. And so he invited me up to trim. So after Colorado ended in like August, I went up there, and I went up to the hill. I remember he told me he was going to meet me where the dirt road starts. And so me and my buddy, Bensley, who I went up there with, were parked in his Subaru on the dirt road, like right where the dirt starts. And my buddy came driving up, and he was on a quad, and he had a cast on, and I don't know, he had a big beard, and I'd never seen him with a beard. And it was just kind of a scene, And then we drove like 16 miles out into the middle of nowhere, and on some rough roads. And, God, interestingly enough, that day when we drove out there to go where he'd been working, we actually went straight down to a different property to a friend of theirs. And that property ended up being a property that I bought later. It was the first property I set foot on. And then I was given an opportunity to buy that some years down the road, which I'll get into. But
Oak Forest is very special. It's almost something that like cannot be replicated anywhere else. Everything that I have seen goes above and beyond. From seeing how many people have gone through there and then decide to work at Oak Forest, that right there says everything.
So I went up to Northern California to get work. Really no idea like how that was going to pay out or how that was going to unfold. He set me up with trimming. Trimming is a nightmare. I don't know if anybody knows what trimming is like. Like I did not have that skill set, and it's fucking
tedious.
Yes, you got to have the skills. Like I don't know. I was not a trimmer. so I did that for a little while, and then I realized like I'm not making that much money a day. Like I'm going to have to leave if I don't figure something else out. But I liked the lifestyle, right? The lifestyle up there was like, if you go to town for goods and groceries, like the moment you get back in the car, it's like cracking a beer and driving up back roads and very like romantic outlaw life. Right. Like, and so for a kid who'd been like, doing whatever he wanted, which was what I'd been doing. I was doing whatever I wanted, like within whatever system I lived in. Even back to like when I was young, I've shared some stories with you of like with my cousins of like just running wild through neighborhoods and causing trouble. So this was like the adult version, right? Mm-hmm. This was like, okay, I can make money and live the way I want, and I'll make some money and then I can go live the like pro athlete life I want to live, which is really was my vision at that time. Was like, I want to figure out how to surf all the time. Like, okay. And, I ended up asking them for other work. I was like, I came into a place where it was like trimming sucked. I'm not going to make that much money. I was like drinking beers more often and just like cruising. A lot of coke around in Humboldt. It was like part of the lifestyle. A lot of people do coke up there. I don't know. It's just comes with the territory. Yeah. So I'm like 23 years old at this time, getting reintroduced to that stuff, but I don't really have the money to like access it and buy it. So it's kind of managing me. But yeah, I'm like fully immersed in this like crazy world, trying to find my way. And they ended up giving me like some hourly work to like take care of like the greenhouses and the plants. And I realized I was good at that. And so then, I just kept like making contacts in the neighborhood. The season ended. This is August of 2011, like August of 2011, I went there and the season ends, like November. I got like my first dose of reality up there that fall. I was standing on the back of a little single cab Toyota, like a flatbed single cab Toyota, so two people up in the front, so there was no room for me, so I was just holding on to the back and holding on to his headache rack, and we were driving up a road and we came around a corner and there were a bunch of cars at this what is like a cell service spot. And ended up being DEA, and we pulled up around and like a bunch of guys came out from behind the cars with ARs pointed at us, like telling us to put our hands in the air and stuff.
Shit.
Yeah, and they were coming into the neighborhood to bust one of the guys in that neighborhood. So that was my first dose of like reality, like, this you can get in trouble doing this. This is why this is worth money. And but I loved it. Like I was like, I don't know, it was like just sucked me in more. God, it's funny to think too. I like know so much about what happened that day now from my immersion in that community. But so the guy that they were end up going to bust ended up becoming like he was basically like the man around there. Him and his brother had moved there, I think back in like the late 70s, and they were like some of the first guys doing that there. And they like had a reputation. They held down that community, and they had a lot of respect, and everybody paid respects to them. And so one of these guys, so can I say names or like?
It's up
to you.
Yeah, we don't mind at all.
Yeah. So Scott was who the DEA was coming in for. And I didn't know him at all at that time. I was working for someone else. And then, so that whole bust happens. And over the winter, I had talked to a neighbor. I talked them into, so that happened in like November. And I talked to a neighbor into keeping me up there for food. They had like some diesel indoor operations. So it was like a big diesel generator fueling lights and like a whole indoor operation. There were a bunch of these buildings built underneath the trees that you couldn't see. And that was like a style that people did back in the day. And so I worked for these guys for some of the last years they did it, but they didn't have the ability to pay me, and there was no job offers, but I asked them to feed me. I said, if you feed me, I'll work for you. I'll stay up here all winter. And so I worked for like basically the guy who was getting the percentage, right? Like getting the crop share. And I worked under him, and he taught me a bunch. Like I owe a lot to that guy, because he put up with all my mistakes, right? As you do, like when you're new with anything, like you need to be taught. And like, I can remember making some mistakes that were, setbacks for them for sure. But so I stayed up there for food, and that winter, one of Scott's friends, John, had a probation checkup, and they found some pounds on his property, and he had to go do 30 days in jail. And I was like the only person available running around up there. So he ran into us on the road and asked me if I would take care of his place. And I ended up watching his place for 30 days, watching his dogs and chickens and like whole little farm, and then like a little thing he had going. And that was like my first experience of like working for someone. And then he ended up giving me a job, giving me a percentage. And then he introduced me to Scott, and Scott was like his childhood friend actually. And there are all these like characters up there, right? Like Scott and his brother were a couple of them, and they had all these stories attached to them, which were like really wild stories and like everything you hear about up there. And then, there were his buddies, the Hawaiians, because they had like done their thing in Hawaii and then moved over there, and just kind of like these guys had carved out this life doing this like their whole life. And he introduced me to Scott. I worked for Scott that summer. I worked for Scott and John, and at the end of that season, I got my paycheck, and they paid me out just in pounds. But I think I got 45 from one of them and 10 from the other guy. It's just like according to size of work. But I took that weed down to LA, and I lived with Josh and my brother Anthony. My brother Anthony had gone to LMU for college, and he had graduated, and he was living with my cousin Josh in like an apartment in Santa Monica with Mimi, and so all of them were living together.
Oh, okay.
I went to school with his cousin.
Got it.
Yeah. So I took all that down there, and I just like sold weed to the clubs for the winter, and I was selling weed from like $1,500 to $2,000, and so it was like a chunk of dough for me. And I bought a car, and I was surfing all the time. And then I started doing a bunch of blow like that winter, and I had started up on the hill like because it was around.
But now you have the money for it, right?
Yeah, I had some money, and
I can
nothing
afford
but
this.
free time. Like all I would do is like skateboard, surf, go like fuck around. Yeah. Like I'm sure I can't remember what job Josh was working, but I know I had to have been pissing him off sometimes because he'd come home and me and Mimi would just be like racking lines
just
out.
doing
You know?
whatever.
I'd be like,
Yeah.
fuck, dude. Like, yeah. So yeah, that I remember having one experience that winter where I don't know, I felt terrible about me, and I woke up in the morning like I'm gonna stop, like okay, no more of this, and I like went totally straight and sober, like no smoking weed, no drinking beer, super healthy. And then I was talking to my dad more, and I was telling my dad, through talking to my dad, I had developed this like idea that I should not go back up to Northern California to grow weed. And so but I had money they still owed me. They had more of a paycheck they owed. So I was like, well, I'm going to go back up and just like, I'll let them know and I'll collect the paycheck. And I remember I drove back up there. It was in like end of February, early March, and sitting in this property that has this big meadow. It's just got like one little cabin built on it, and this big meadow, and you're out in like the wilderness. And I was like, fuck, this is it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not leaving. Like, this is what I was
is
meant
my
to
dream.
do, man. Yeah. Crazy. And so
Sucks
I don't
you
think
right
I
back
even
in.
followed up with my dad. I just like went.
Disappeared.
Yeah, I went ghost. Yeah. Maybe I followed up with him months later, like to let him know what I was doing. It's wild to me too, looking back on that I didn't think that was an issue, or I wasn't, I don't know. It wasn't even a thought. I don't remember it being a thought. Like I really was not thinking about other people. I was like thinking about me, and that's it. But so yeah, I continued that line of work. I worked for Scott that year. I don't know, man. It would take too much time to go over every season up there, but so I think I worked a couple seasons. And you know, every season up there, that neighborhood had a reputation because of the guys who had been out there for a long time. And so yeah, I can remember, you know, helicopters flying over and like busts happening and like other neighbors getting busted. And
was it just a matter of them finding you guys, and you guys were hidden?
So,
Is that like kinda how it
this
rolled?
neighborhood, at this time, like I got into growing weed and it's pretty developed. Like you could see everything.
Yeah.
Essentially what they would do is they would fly with the helicopter and they would take photos. And so if you saw a guy with a camera lens out taking photos, he's getting the photos to take back to a judge to get a warrant for that property. That's usually how that system
So
works.
you like knew, if you saw a camera, you knew it was coming
You knew
soon.
next week
So you had a
that's
little
probably
heads up.
coming. And
Yeah.
actually, when I had my own stuff, a couple times we dealt with that. Or like my cousins, you know, my little cousins, Colin and Sean, Josh's older brother, were working for me. And I remember they called me one time. They're like, dude, we just got flown. And there was like a guy with a camera lens. Like, yeah.
And so what do you guys do in that moment?
Oh, man.
You
So
move everything, or?
yeah. So we'd take anything that was close enough to harvest, and we would harvest it. And I would take it and I would set up lines of baling wire in the trees. In the summer, you could just dry it in the trees as long as you bagged it in time. If you left it out there, it would turn to dust.
Yeah.
But so you could cure weed in the trees. And so we would like cut weed, load it onto bed sheets, like put it in a truck, drive it to a location, haul it down to our lines we had hung, and hang the weed. And we would do that. We'd spend like the night doing that. In the middle of the day, you don't want to harvest weed. It'll go flat like in the sun. But at night, it's less volatile and you can get away with it. So yeah, it was this whole like cops and robbers type like life, right? And like always staying one step ahead of that. I mean, I don't know. I think like part of why like what I do now feels so manageable, like is the amount of stress I've endured doing that lifestyle is like nothing can compare to it.
Yeah.
Like I've got land payments and I've got like a debt at the store in town that has like a running tab for me to like do my operation. I've got like loans out with people, like and then I've got to like not get busted too.
Yeah,
and like
it's
you
a
get
lot.
flown by a helicopter and it's like, but it was always just like, okay, what's the solution? You know,
Yeah.
and I think I learned that like in that lifestyle, like I learned that and I still apply that. It's like, all right, well, what's the answer? Like this, we gotta, it is
Get
what
into
it
action.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta take action. So, yeah, God, where do I go with all that? There's so many ups and downs in that time in Humboldt. I've had my teeth knocked out. These teeth are fake. Like I went to Peru to replace teeth because I got my teeth knocked out in a bar fight. This was like, man, I guess I should mention that in Humboldt, like there were several times where I made money and lost everything, and made money and lost everything. Like I started over from scratch several times up there. like having nowhere to live and like couch surfing.
Wow.
Yeah, like all.
And why is that?
Because of coke. Yeah. Because of my addiction. Okay. Oh yeah. The first time was like I had been working the hill for Scott, and I rented a house in town in Garberville, and I was like, I'm gonna sell clones. Like I know all these growers who buy clones in the spring to start their operation. I'm gonna sell clones. I'm gonna make another chunk of money. It was like I saw opportunity. What I did is I rented that house. I partnered in with a guy who like had the blow, and like. Then I just did blow all winter.
Yeah.
Like, didn't sell any clones.
No, maybe a few. He was partnered with me. He basically used it to like facilitate his thing and his operation. And so he was like fine with it, but I had like totally squandered it and spent money doing it. And I was like a mess. And then I went and worked a job. I think I quit for Scott, and then I worked for somebody else, and I quit pretty quickly because I was a mess. And then I was like in town couch surfing, trying to figure it out over the summer. And I think I made more bad investments and was doing blow and surfing, and then like was down to nothing. And then I was out on Halloween night, and I'd surfed all day and I hadn't really eaten, and my buddies, we went straight to drinking, and we went out in Arcata, and Arcata has this area called the Arcata Square, and there's a strip of bars there. And I remember drinking, and before I blacked out, I remember getting in an argument with a guy and headbutting him. Oof. And nobody saw it really. And our buddies broke it up, and then we stuck around. And I remember the story that's told to me, because I don't remember it, is, my buddy said he saw me come out of the bathroom and that guy was there, and he just fucking decked me. And then my buddy went back there to wrap him up because I went down and he was about to like hit me again. And he said the guy had rings all over his fingers. The first memory I have from that night was I had someone, the cops were holding my hands behind my back, and I was looking at like a wall of people and spitting teeth out like chiclets. I was like, what's in my mouth? I was like spitting teeth out. Yeah. It was gnarly. Yeah. And some of them were like, didn't come all the way out, but were like pointing down my throat.
Oh, God damn.
I went to the hospital. I what do you call it? Like I signed like a release liability. Like I wouldn't let them work on me. I was like, I don't have any money. I don't want any
don't
of this.
touch me.
Yeah. And I woke up in the morning, like looking at myself in the mirror, and I had cuts on my face. I have little scars here.
Did your teeth go through your?
I broke my mandible here. I had fractured this. I didn't break anything here, but I had a fracture line through my jaw right here.
Oh, God damn.
And I had cuts. Like if I shave all the way, which I usually don't, there's scars here. Yeah. I woke up and went to the dentist. Someone told me this like dental clinic that'll like work with you.
Yeah.
Like basically it was like a school. They were like a dental school.
Okay. Yeah.
So I went there and they basically,
learning.
like, I thought I was gonna have to pay something. I didn't know how, but I was like, I fucking need to, like there were teeth. Like
help.
I was like, I need them to pull some of these out. And they ended up like not charging me. I think they just felt bad. I looked like hell. Yeah. I was like, hadn't really cleaned myself up and went straight to the dentist, Buddy from the night before came and picked me up and helped me get there and stuff. And that was like actually this like moment that helped me like refocus too. I was like, fucking around anymore. Like this is not worth it. And I lived without teeth for like 3 years. Like,
wow.
Without like, and teeth moved. Like when I went to go get them fixed, it was like I don't have the same amount of teeth up top as I do down low because teeth had drifted. They're like, dude, you can't, like you're gonna have an odd number up here. Like, it's crazy. So, but for a couple years there, I like really focused on work, and then I got in at a house. I had been working for a guy who was teaching me clones, and I was just working hourly, and I was living with a buddy in this little beach house out in this little town in Samoa. It's on the Samoa Peninsula, like right outside of the Humboldt Harbor. And it's like good surf, like living out at the beach, and just working on this trade. And I did end up getting to a place where I could reach back out to those contacts. Scott was one of them, and a couple of these other guys that had been like staples of my time up there, who had always thought well of me if I was well. But you know, like also, I mean, Humboldt is that place too. A lot of these guys are like super capable, functional guys, and then they're like big partiers. So I reached back out to them. I sold clones successfully, and I remember things were going legal, and you know, so mind you, none of this like was ever legal. What I was doing wasn't I wasn't like in the legal market, the white market, as you call it. And I ended up asking Scott. I wanted like stability, and so I asked Scott for a job. I was working for him at a place he was going to permit, and then we realized like I was like overkill. He didn't need me, and he had this other place it was not going to get permitted or anything that he had been renting the year previous, and the guy who owned it like didn't have the money to do anything with it. And so Scott was like, why don't you talk to James I and like see if James I'll work with you, and like maybe he'll rent to you or something. And he ended up being willing to sell me the property, and I put up 10 grand on a property that he wanted a very sizable number for. And he carried me, and then Scott gave me loans to facilitate like my first year, and never took like $1 of interest on it. Like always said he just wanted to see me do well. Like he was like this father figure to me up there. Yeah. And I don't know. So then I was off and running. And those are like, the years of like, you know, dealing with cops and trying to stay one step ahead of everything, trying to manage people. You know, I had family work for me, which was toxic at times. You know, my cousin dealt with his addiction, and we each were like in addiction up there, and we have different DOCs, and like, you know, he's like doing fentanyl and crashing out, and I'm like doing coke, but because I pay the bills and have my shit together, like you got to do what I say, and like you got to get your shit together, you know. And fuck, he and I went at it a few times, and but I don't know, I was very intent on doing well, and so it was always like there was a lot of opportunity up there, and I would pull a season off, and I would take that money and I would pay my debts, and then I would usually expand into something else. And I don't know, a lot of that was there's like a lot of unmanageability and all that too. It was like I'm not doing that with like the thought of how to be like efficient and like effective with like what I have. It was like more of like an ego thing, and like, oh yeah, I'll rent that. And like, now look, I got 2 things, and then I'm gonna rent that. Now I got 3 things. Like, well, but would have been smarter to just like sink money into one. But I guess so. To fast forward, like I did well, but I was doing a lot more blow. And even though it appeared like I had everything together, my addiction was very much out of control. I just had built things up enough to the wheels were spinning, and I could keep it going as long as the industry was going. And then I got in a bad truck accident in 2020. September 5th of 2020, I rolled a water truck in Southern Oregon. I was transporting water from one property to another. The property I was renting ran out of water. A property I had a really good well on it, so I bought a water truck. A water truck didn't have an engine exhaust brake or Jake brake, which is like really crucial with driving weight, like heavy weight, because it'll compress the air through the engine and it'll slow you down better than brake pads. Like every big truck has it. And this truck did not. And so I was in an argument with my girlfriend. Took a phone call. I hung up the phone, and all I remember seeing was like cars in front of me had come to a stop, and I pointed to the shoulder to like go around them, and the car in front of me took the shoulder, and I had to go like across a drainage ditch, and it bucked the truck. And I just remember super violent thing. And I was like trapped in the truck for an hour. They had to cut the truck apart. I was like folded up like a lawn chair in there.
Oh, no.
And I knew I was in bad shape, and because I couldn't feel my leg, and I had shattered my femur. Like, I shattered it. Yeah, just like pieces. And like up at the top, it like split in two directions. And yeah, it was heavy. They at the scene, they when they ripped me out of the truck, they put me on a stretcher board and they ran me back to an ambulance, I assume, and they go, "We're gonna give you an IV of ketamine to for the pain," and then just everything like slipped away. And then the next memory I had, I was like, "What happened to that truck accident?" And I was like floating through the air, and I think I was floating through the air. Well, I was floating through the air because of I was in a helicopter.
Oh, yeah. Did they airlift you?
They airlifted me.
Oh, shit.
And I looked up, and the guy goes, I looked up, and there was a guy there in a helmet. And I was like, "Am I dead?" And he goes, "No, you've been in a bad accident. You're being medevaced to the hospital right now." And so I had this heavy experience. And when I was in the hospital, I had this deep feeling that I should quit doing what I'm doing. I was like, I gotta quit growing. And I went to my dad's to rehabilitate. I think I was there for like 6 or 8 weeks. And I was during most of that time like intent on quitting the lifestyle I'd been living. And I felt really strongly like something bad was going to happen if I didn't. I ended up not quitting. I went back up there and took over all my stuff and pushed away my girlfriend at the time. I had a Puerto Rican girlfriend. We had a house in Puerto Rico. I like cut ties with everything, like pushed her away really because I didn't want to be told what to do.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just do blow when I want to do blow, and I didn't want to be told what to do at all.
Right.
And like, man, to be honest, I was like a pretty dark personality back then. Dark character back then. Like I don't know. I was very, just very concerned with me and my things, and not very caring to people who loved me and cared about me and were there for me. And it was, it was tough on family who worked for me. I was like, I was really good at, making you feel like you were the problem. Yeah. And that was like, that was pretty consistent in those interactions. So I didn't quit, and I ended up having a friend. This is tough to talk about, but I had a friend knock on my door with like some really terrible news, and just some things that had happened in our little community, and had I quit, I wouldn't have been there for that knock on the door. And everything changed from that knock on the door. I didn't feel safe out where I was working. I didn't want to be involved with what I had been, with what had been shared with me. It was not my thing. It was not something I wanted to be a part of. But this person came to me thinking I was a safe place to share it, right? And looking for advice. And I was like, fuck, man. Like, good luck. I don't know. And yeah, there was a lot that fell apart from that. There was a lot that fell apart. It's like all these things happened at the same time. My addiction, me pushing my girlfriend away. So now nobody's there to tell me what to do. There's this other nefarious event that happened that made me sell a place and like cut ties with certain things, trying to like navigate that. And I sank everything into like some rentals as the industry was falling apart. And I went in like 9 months, I went from having like houses and property, like acres in multiple states, to like living out of my truck. Yeah. From me like doing blow, making bad decisions, not showing up to responsibilities. I lost everything super quick, and because the industry went downhill, the value of it plummeted. And in a year where you needed to have your shit super tight to sell weed and be competitive, I had been fucking up, and like my product represented it. And I was barely scraping things together to pay crews and stuff. And
Listen, nobody wakes up one day and thinks, you know what'll be fun? Going to rehab. But But sometimes life gets messy, and the bravest thing that you can do is admit that you need a reset.
At Oak Forest Recovery, we're not here to judge. We've been there. We know what it's like. We've been scared. We've been alone, using comedy and jokes to cover it all up. The good news is you don't have to do it alone. We have the tools, we've got the community, and we even have good coffee.
If you or someone you love is struggling, come see us. Healing doesn't have to be boring. It can even be fun, and we're here to help.
God, yeah, I was down and out for a couple years, floating around in my truck, and I had a bender in the Bay, where I was working like a restaurant job. I was trying to get things back together, and I went and hung out with a buddy, and I started doing blow, and then I just stopped showing up to these shifts, and I was like on a bender, and I was just doing blow in my truck and like floating around the Bay. And I got in a really dark space, and I reached out to my brother, and I was actually in a place, I haven't shared this much, but I was like wishing I was dead. Like I was really wishing I was dead. I didn't have the balls to commit suicide, but I was like, I wish something would take me out. And I shared it with my brother. My brother brought me over to his house, and he helped me pay some bills because I had like rent due at this house that I'd been like trying to keep, but I was like basically floating around different job opportunities and kind of operating from my vehicle. And so my brother helped me pay some back rent, and my brother wanted me to go to treatment. And he said, Dad and I will help you go to treatment. And I was like, no, I got it. Don't worry about it. Like, I'm going to go back up to Humboldt. I'm going to live with Scott. Like, he's healthy. And like, at that time, I think too, I thought I could like smoke weed, and that wasn't an issue. And Scott could smoke weed and like not go overboard with other things, but I was not the same. I was smoking weed thinking that isn't a problem. And weed's connected to beer, and beer's connected to Coke for me, and it's all connected. And while I was up there, I had a truck get repossessed during this big like downfall. I had an F450 Platinum dually get repossessed, and when it got repossessed, it got sold and auctioned off for more than what I owed. So I got a check, and I took that money and I went and tried to grow weed one more time with Scott, and I ended up forgetting about like that drama from the past. And because I had just been doing blow and fucking up, and all of a sudden I was out there and I remembered what things were attached to this place, and I felt immediately unsafe, and I was like sleeping with a loaded shotgun by the bed, and my anxiety and my paranoia was ramping up. And then I started doing more blow, and then I left the hill, couldn't go back up there, told Scott I can't do this like because of XYZ, and which were things too that he had nothing to do with. And yeah, I left, and I got a call 6 months later from a family member of his saying Dad's missing, and I don't know. We don't know where he is right now. I got a sinking feeling because I felt like I knew. It was like, I know that has to be because of that. And they ended up finding his body, and his hands were tied behind his back. And when they did an autopsy, it says hands were tied behind his back, and he died of blunt force trauma. And he probably got tied up and beaten right in the cabin that I had been living in. And so it was pretty heavy for me. I was really crushed. I don't think I had ever really dealt with the loss of my mom. And so there's like this compounding feeling of loss. And he was like this like staple of stability for me. Like even through all the chaos was like this like untouchable figure, and he was dead, And the way I dealt with it was I I'd been floating around the Bay Area. I went up to Humboldt and I hung out at my plug's house and I just did blow. And I just made up excuses as to, told lies of how I had money coming in, this and that. So he ran up a massive tab for me and I just racked it out for days on end there with him. Until he was tired of me and I had to leave. and then when I left, I went to Central Oregon to my cousin, tried to get sober, did for a bit, got work, but quickly went back to drinking beer and doing blow, found it up there and was like in my vehicle doing blow, shining shifts again, same old story, as like a year and a half before that. And, I remember my cousin called me and was like, are you okay? You got this? Or do you want to get help? And I was like, dude, I want to get help. Yeah. I was just done.
You've reached your point.
And that was the first time I met Jenna. I was on the phone, twacked out, trying to have a conversation without stuttering, and talking about getting help, And I remember my dad told me, my dad told me no the first time when we asked. Yeah, he was like, how do I know you actually want to get help? And I had, so all these stories, right? All this lifestyle, like my dad kept me at arm's length.
Yeah.
Like he loved me and he wanted to have time with me. So when we had time together, he just did not ask me how I was doing or what I was up to because he didn't want to know. So there's this real significant awkward space between us because I was very aware of those things. Like he wouldn't ask certain questions. So then what do you talk about? It's like very different. Now I'm reaching out and I'm asking my dad for money for the first time in my life. And, of course he told me no. That's probably the right thing to say. Luckily family, I think, was able to help him see it differently. And they bought me a plane ticket and I got on a plane to come down here. I actually got kicked off the first plane. Yeah, I mouthed off to a flight attendant and fuck, man. The way I would tell that story when it first happened was like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like I said, I yelled "Go Niners" and that was it. It was like way more than that. Yeah. I like threw it in her face that I was on airplane mode, but I still had service. And like, it was a whole thing. Cause she was like, how are you still on the phone? You're supposed to be in airplane mode. And I was like, yeah, I am. How about that? And I was like throwing her attitude. And sheriffs came down the airplane and pulled me off. I went back to my cousin's house. I was drunk. I demanded my truck keys. My truck had been parked somewhere. I didn't even know how to get there. But in my head, I was like, I'm going to get to my truck and I'm going to use my last paycheck to go to San Francisco and I'm going to sell my truck and fly to Indo. And I'm going to fly to Indonesia where I have friends. And I'm just going to I don't know. I'm going to carve out an existence there. Yeah. And I couldn't find the fucking check in my bag that night. I was sure I had it. I couldn't find it. But I had been at the airport and checked a bag. And I thought, fuck, it must have been in that other bag. I'm stuck. And I remember too, I was standing in his yard and, I really believe in like my concept of God. Like I really believe that there's energy or people that were in my life, like now looking after me. And I was looking up at the sky and I was like, what the fuck do you want me to do? And I was talking to Scott. It sounds crazy, but like that's what I was doing. And I got a big shooting star. And I just like, it was just like, man, there's just nothing I can do right now. I don't know. And I could feel it. Like I felt it like, this is what it is. Like,
yeah.
And I wanted out of that so bad and I couldn't escape it. And so I go to sleep. The next morning I'm packing my bag up. My brother's buying me another flight. And, the paycheck's right there. Like the first thing I see when I open my bag is right there. It was like mind blowing. And I don't know how I didn't see it the night before. Like I ripped through that bag trying to find that thing. And, so I went to treatment and, and here I am. I don't know. I had so much like powerful stuff, happened to like put me in touch with like what's right and wrong in my life. Like even going back to like that knock on the door I mentioned, I ignored that stuff most of my life, but I feel like I've always had this like gut feeling or like energy trying to lead me the right way, but I was like blocked off, man. I was blocked off to that. And I came into treatment with these experiences and really like a feeling like I'm gonna listen to that shit because I put myself through hell ignoring those feelings. Like, and I really feel today like I have, you know, my mom, and I have these people, I have Scott, I have these people that I've lost that look after me, and they try to show me the right thing to do. And I really try to nurture that and listen to that. And then coming and getting sober is like, when you're learning to be sober, all you're learning about is like the principles to like guide you down the right path in every situation, in every relationship. I mean, that's what the 12 steps are. It's like a system for you to navigate life correctly. Like, I know, like before I didn't have that. I had a feeling, but I didn't know how to manage me or to manage my life or manage my relationships. Coming to treatment and doing a bunch of therapy repaired my relationship with my father in a way that's like mind blowing. I talk to my dad about everything now, and my dad is like my biggest supporter, and he's who I go to for all my advice. And you know, like that's mind blowing to me because they, you know, I couldn't even talk to him about like what I was doing before. But from getting sober and you know, doing treatment and doing the 12 steps of AA and learning to live my life through that system, like my life is manageable and nothing is too much, like nothing. And I know like whatever I get thrown, I'll just walk through it the same way I know how to walk through anything else. I'll live by the steps and, you know, yeah.
Hell yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm just like,
yeah, no, it's great, man. It's a good story. What, you know, you work in treatment now.
yeah,
What do you love?
I do.
What do you love about working in treatment?
man,
I think you're really good at it.
I feel like, and I don't know why exactly, but I feel like there's principles within this world we live in that are true amongst like everybody's life, and you can identify those things and you can find some common ground and you can help anybody. Like my story is very different from many people's story. It might be similar to some, but like there's things within it, like there's at least one thing that like you and I can connect on and that can like open you up to this way of life and what's possible for you and pull you out. And it's because there's these principles that exist within it that are the same for everyone. The experiences could be way different, but the principles could be the same. And I think, man, you know, I really don't have an explanation for why, other than that, like, this is what happened. It feels to me like it's just like what was meant to happen. I don't know anything other than it just fits so good. Right. I've never had anything. When I grew weed, I thought, wow, I found what I was meant to do. And that's like crazy, man. I barely fit into that world. That's a world full of rough characters. Like I barely fooled everybody enough to survive in that world. Yeah. I'm not that guy. You know, I'm like a gentle, like kind-hearted person. I have intense energy, but for sure. But I couldn't hurt a fly, man. Yeah. And I think, you know, like the way I stay sober now is it's all about what I did for somebody else. I get so much out of trying to be there for other people. I like that was what was preached early in sobriety to me. It's all getting out of self. Even your belief in a power greater than you is getting out of self. It's all get out of your selfish mindset, your like pursuit of what you want, you know? And in that is like the key to happiness for anybody, I feel like. Yeah. It's crazy how you thinking about other people will take care of you. Like,
who would have thought?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I just fell into this, and it still feels like I just got sober, and it feels like a day one still. I don't know if it'll ever change. There's always like the next thing. So I think the biggest thing that's changed for me, and maybe why this has gone, like, because things have gone very well for me since getting sober, is that early on, certain people taught me to not trust fear, like not trust a fear. And I think I was very much navigating life before according to my fears, and I would avoid certain things, and I would be willing to do certain things according to what I like could handle. And now I don't trust a fear, because I know most of my fears like are there because of like experiences from childhood or loss of my mother, or like they're things that don't need to define me anymore. Like there's literally no reason. And then I have my faith that tells me I'm going to be all right. Things are going to be okay no matter what, you know, even if they're not. Like I will be provided for. I think too, like I accept too that like life is not permanent, and I'm okay with that. Like I'm okay with like if all I have is today. And you know, I trust that I'm going to show up and do the best I can, but like God's got whatever he's got planned, and it's not up to me. And so there's nothing to worry about. Just walk through whatever's in front of me and do the best I can. And I think that's why working in treatment has gone so well for me, is really try not to absorb whatever is going on, so I can walk through, you know, de-escalating someone or various crises, and just like compartmentalize it and just keep moving through. I mean, I'd be lying if it said it doesn't affect you, because it does. You got to like take care of you, and like I make a point to create space for me and go surf and like work that in. But I think, man, I'm super grateful to like even have this life. I mean, I was like worried about losing my life at one time, you know. I had placed the pieces I had organized were going to kill me, like, you know, and I felt that. I felt very close to, you know, I don't know, somebody like, you know, it very well could have been me in that cabin, not Scott. And that, you know, that's pretty powerful. How can you not be grateful to be alive after something like that, you know? Right. So, yeah, if I can, you know, be there for anybody the way people were there for me, I mean, that's just what you do, right? I don't know. It's really not even a thought. It's like, yeah, everything's just fallen into place, and I'm just grateful. Yeah.
What do you think you'd tell a young person that is thinking about getting sober? Is maybe like in a position that you were in?
Oh, man. Don't wait. Man, I spent my whole life thinking I was different. And it's that thought that will take me out today. Like if I just start thinking I'm different, like I always thought I was different. Everybody else saw that I had an issue. Everybody else from high school, like even before I had an issue, they were like, you got alcoholism in your family, like be careful, you know, like grandma talking. And I always thought I was different. I always thought I had a grip on it, but I didn't, man. And like the best thing you can do, the best thing I ever did was finally surrender. And gosh, I see so many young people getting sober now, and I think treatment's had that effect. Like I talked to one of my mentors, Jason, tells me all the time how good treatment is for kids these days. It gives them a way to get sober. Like AA has changed because of treatment, and all these adolescents who get exposed to it and know that that's there for them. Like there's a solution. It is the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, or, you know, whatever your 12-step group is. Like there's a variety of them. But that way of living will save you from everything, you know? That's how I feel. So,
Right.
why wait? Do it.
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's great, man. It's great to hear your story.
Thank you. Yeah. It's crazy to tell it. Yeah.
Happy to work with you.
Yeah. No, it's been a pleasure working with you, man. Yeah.
It's dope. Well, I think we're probably at the time. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it took a lot of time.
Thanks
man.
so much. Dude, that was so good.